Good evening, Delaware, and welcome into DETV for another sports special. It's your 2022 NBA Draft Preview. Nick Alessandrini, glad to be back with Jason McCall after a little 2-week hiatus. Dennis Pritchett, of course, our producer and director, back in the studio. And Jason, it's been a few weeks since the last time we had the chance to talk about anything sports here on DETV, but the last time we did get together was before Game 1 of the NBA Finals, in which your Boston Celtics were taking on the Golden State Warriors, and we talked about how good of a finals matchup that would be, and Jason, it was a pretty good one through 6 games.
Yeah, it was a pretty good finals matchup through 6 games. Unfortunately, didn't get the outcome that I would have liked, but it was a great season for the Celtics. No one expected them to get there. However, still some work to be done. 184 turnovers between 2 players. Highest total of all time in the playoff series between 2 players. Got some work to do with that, but other than that, still very young, hungry team, great on defense, tweaks on offense, maybe add a player or 2 here or there. But the Warriors are who we thought they were, and they reclaimed their throne on top of the NBA mountain. So congrats to the Warriors and the Celtics. They'll be back.
6 finals appearances for the Warriors in the last 8 years, 4 of them resulting in NBA championships. Obviously, the one with the Raptors, they had some injuries, wasn't really a good one there, and then obviously the other one coming to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Warriors are 2022 NBA champions. Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Steph Curry finally gets that coveted MVP Finals trophy. Now he's got a Western Conference Finals and an NBA Finals MVP trophy for one of the best point guards, if not the best to ever do it, Steph Curry, adding to that resume. So we talked a little bit about it. Tough stretch there for the Celtics there in the finals, but they're young. And again, as a Sixer fan, you got to think they're going to be maybe, coming back next year. They're going to have success going forward. So we'll have to see what happens with Boston for Golden State. We'll see if they can bring some of those guys back for next year. And we'll see what they got going into next year. I believe if you were to look at the odds right now, the Warriors obviously up there. But Jason, another team up there in the Western Conference is the LA Clippers. With those odds, I believe second or first to take home the Western Conference trophy and head back to the NBA Finals. How do you see Kawhi Leonard, Paul George maybe coming back next year? The Clippers a team to look out for? I know before we jump into our draft stuff.
No.
That's the odds. No, Vegas doesn't know.
No. Even with them being healthy, I don't think they have enough of the others to make that work. Ty Lue's a great coach. They have some other players there, Reggie Jackson, off the top of my head, a couple other players there, but Terrence Mann. I don't think they have enough. Zubac, he's okay, but I don't think they have enough, especially in the Western Conference, because I feel like a healthy Lakers team is scarier than a healthy Clippers team, if you want to be completely honest.
Here we go around with the Lakers again. We're going to have some talk about the Lakers a little bit. Let's just dive into it right now. Kyrie Irving, some rumors going around that he might be heading to the LA Lakers again, just some rumors swirling. And Jason, how do you see that going? Does Kyrie stay with the Nets this year? Does he go to LA, maybe somewhere else? What's going on with Kyrie Irving?
I don't think Kyrie stays the Nets either way. I think his time has come and gone with Brooklyn. If you heard about some rumors, some things going on, that he will hold his own practices at Nets practices throughout the season. So Kyrie thinks he's bigger than the team there, and I really don't think he respects Nash as a head coach. And when you have that type of player and that type of atmosphere, and when people can't reel you in, if you will, then you have to go. I mean, he would lose $30 million off the table.
And that's the key. $30 million less if he were to go to the Lakers. But again, this is all hearsay. As of right now, we're going to wait and see what the Nets have full roster-wise next year, where Kyrie Irving may land. But before we went on the air today, we've had 2 trades in the past week. Christian Wood being shipped to Dallas to clear room out in Houston for potential that 3rd pick coming in the front court there. So Christian Wood now a member of the Dallas Mavericks. I think that's a great move for Dallas.
It's a steal for Dallas.
And Luka, I think that's what they needed. A rim protector, can run the floor, can score the basketball. He'll be a great fit there with the Mavericks. And then before we went on the air today, Jason, another trade, Jeremy Grant, heading to the West Coast, heading to Portland to play alongside Damian Lillard, who they hope will be back next season. They ship out a 1st-round pick in the process and a few 2nd-round swaps with some other teams in there as well. But Jeremy Grant going to Portland.
It's a great move for Portland. Jeremy Grant is a good plug-and-play type of player. He can play, I want to say, 2 or 3 different positions on the court. He's going to give you solid energy, defense, give you about 14 to 17 points a game if he's getting the minutes per 36. The Grant family is a always been partial to Portland with his dad, Harvey, also playing for the Blazers back in the day. So it's a great pickup for Portland.
And again, Jeremy Grant, the former second-round pick of your Philadelphia 76ers. But let's hop in now to potential 2022 NBA draft. It's going to be live tomorrow night on ABC and ESPN. It should be a fun one. Jason, we talked about the NCAA tournament back in March. Your Tar Heels making it to the NCAA championship there. A lot of guys you saw in that NCAA tournament are actually projected to go in the first round. We're going to dive into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But let's start with the Orlando Magic. They win the draft lottery. They get the #1 overall pick this year. The Magic have had it 4 times. Shaq, Chris Webber, they traded for Penny Hardaway, and then Dwight Howard. So this will be the 4th time for Orlando. They are on the clock. Jason, again, we did a little mock draft, or I did myself. We're going to hear what you would do in certain situations, maybe some critiques you have there. But let's jump right in with the Orlando Magic. Rumors are swirling. They had some private workouts with Jabari Smith. They love what they saw there. They think he can be a perennial all-star caliber player, especially two ways. He is long. He's 6'10", 220 with that 7'1" wingspan. Is Jabari Smith going to be your #1 pick? Or not the Magic's #1 pick tomorrow night?
Well, we've been hearing about a Jabari to Orlando since March. So let's be honest about it. So I think this is a done deal. He had a great tournament, a great season overall. And I think for what the Magic need, he is the perfect fit for their offense and for that system. Now, if I were picking #1, I think we both can agree that we both believe that Paolo Banchero out of Duke would be the top-rated player on both of our mock boards. Mm-hmm. But for the fit and for the style of play, and just for the rumors we've been hearing for the last 3 months, you can't go wrong with drafting Jabari Smith at #1. He's going to give you everything. 6'10", like you said, 7'1" wingspan, 17 points, 7 rebounds a game. I think he could up that to about 20 and 10 in today's NBA system with his skill set. He could probably be an all-star in 3 years.
Yeah, we talked about Jabari Smith. You know, you got to love the length, two-way player, can put the ball on the floor. You know, maybe the one area of improvement, maybe create a shot a little bit more. But again, that'll come as he gets into the league and develops more often. Second-team All-American. You saw some of the highlight dunks he had in the NCAA tournament. Again, it was tough for me. A great game you're seeing on your screen against Jackson State. But that next matchup against Miami where they were blown out in the NCAA tournament, that game he did, there it is. But that was the game where he kind of went missing a little bit, 3 of 16 or 3 of 18 from the floor. And that one, obviously, everybody has bad games. But for a future #1 overall pick, what do you think of Jabari Smith in the NCAA tournament or just this season overall?
I think for today's NBA, the sample size doesn't need to be as large as it used to be for players. So I think he did just enough. But it was eye-popping as well. So I think he did enough during the season and during the tournament, the first couple of games, to solidify himself as #1 pick. You know, going to Auburn, playing for Coach Pearl, if you're a high-ranked recruit, you're not going to stay more than 1 or 2 seasons anyway. So this is probably already in the making. Probably why he signed there. He's going to get a lot of airtime with SEC Network, things like that. So it's working out for him clearly, and I believe he will be #1 overall pick. And the Orlando Magic, when they had the #1 overall pick, think about those names you just named. Shaq, Hall of Famer. Chris Webber drafted but traded for Penny. Penny was a great player his first 8-9 years in the league. Mm-hmm. Still had a decent career overall. And Dwight Howard should have been top 75. Will be a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
And again, he takes a lot of heat for off-the-court stuff.
3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Let's not forget this. 9-time All-Star. The numbers are there.
Took the Magic to the finals.
Finals. Double-double for his career on average. Yeah. So they know something. They're doing something right in Orlando with #1 picks. Now, they can't keep having #1 picks or top 5 picks in recent history. But when they do have #1 pick, they normally hit their target. So we'll see if they strike again with Jabari tomorrow.
Again, starting to play a little bit better at the end of the year. You got Cole Anthony from a few years ago. They got a lot of young talent. Jalen Suggs.
They have too many guards, though. They have too many
Franz
guards.
Wagner, first-team All-Rookie last year with the Magic. So some talent in their youth there in Orlando. Jabari Smith, the projected #1 overall pick, will certainly add to that, the 19-year-old freshman and the second-team All-American. So that takes us to the second pick in the draft, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we've heard from different people that they're enamored. GM Presti is enamored with Chet Holmgren. So Sam Presti is supposed to be a big Chet Holmgren fan, had his eye on him since December they say. Again, a unicorn-type player in his eyes and a lot of other people's eyes as well. Some people have him as the projected #1 overall pick
seen that.
on
I've
a lot
seen
of
that.
big boards, a
Seen
lot
that.
of drafts especially. Chet Holmgren here for us is going to be going to OKC. But what did you see from Chet Holmgren this year? 7 feet, 195 pounds. That's the issue. 7'6" wingspan, and of course, one of the best shot blockers in the country last season.
I mean, I saw a guy who could do it all offensively and defensively, but I'm a guy that's slight the frame built, but he's really slight the frame. He's gonna need some sandwiches, some extra bread, some peanut butter, or
Get him
something.
down to New Orleans with
get
Zion down there.
Get him down in somewhere, but I think for what he brings to the table, I think Presti sees Durant in Chet Holmgren.
Interesting.
I think he sees Durant. I think he sees the length, the off the dribble type of shot creation, but he also plays better defense. But I think he sees a lot of a young Durant when Durant's coming out of Texas in Holmgren, and I think if he struck once, he can strike again. I think that's what he sees, and I know that with that young team there, you have Gibney and all the other players, and Dort,
Giddey, Gilgeous-Alexander, your backcourt as well.
and he fits perfectly into that system right now.
So again, Chet Holmgren projected to go 2. You talk about it, 27 minutes a game, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 3.7 blocks. That was kind
That's
of
insane.
the elite thing that he's going to bring to the league. He's going to be able to block shots. Obviously, as you mentioned, Jason's going to have to put on some weight if he's going to hang down there in the paint with some of these big NBA guys. But he's got the tools. We'll see if he can get there. 61% from the floor. Also a 40% three-point shooter. Perfect for what the league needs
what it is
today.
right now.
Again, he's another second-team All-American alongside Jabari Smith. And that takes us now to the Houston Rockets at 3. And Jason, we talked about it months ago. It's been said all week coming into the draft tomorrow night. It is a 3-player top-heavy in terms of those 3
Star
guys could all be
talent, yeah.
they're
All
all
number one.
All-Americans, could all be potential #1 overall picks. Well, here's the last one, Paolo Banchero from Duke. Again, a guy that me and you had as #1 on our big boards back in March after the NCAA tournament. We feel the same way here on Wednesday, the day before the draft. We have Banchero. I have him 1 on my big board. You have him 1 on your big board. I have Jabari Smith 2. Jabari Smith 2 for you as well on your big board. And we both have Chet 3, or you have Chet from further down?
I have Chet as a top 5 pick.
Okay, so I got Chet 3, and we'll dive in more to this in a little bit as we
and
get
my
to the
big board, I
boards.
had Jaden Ivey at 3.
3, Ivy at 3. So there you go. And we're going to dive into him in a second as well. So Banchero, obviously the freshman for Duke, 6'10", 250, a 7'1" wingspan, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists with a block and a steal per game. 34% three-point shooter. He improved as the season progressed in that aspect. You see him here knocking it down from the corner. He can put the ball on the floor. He's big, he's physical, can create his own shot, mid-range, has it. Can put it on the floor, but also a pretty good passer as well. What stood out to you with Paolo Banchero?
His energy and his rebounding, like his scoring is always going to be there, but his energy is second to none in the college game. I think that translates well to the NBA with a high motor, but his overall skill set, he reminds me of another young Duke player, same size, who just played in the NBA Finals. Reminds me a lot of Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
He's just bigger
I
at this
would
point
say
right now.
maybe like a little bit less smooth at that stage in their career, but they also had different things going for each of those players. But Tatum, I like that comparison. I think I agree with you there with that one for sure.
But I think Paolo should be #1. But whoever drafts him, wherever he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He probably won't last past 3. But if you're the Rockets, you get to pair him with Jalen Green.
I like that a lot.
I like that a lot. That'll be a 1-2 punch for the next 6 to 8 years if you let it work out.
And again, Paolo Banchero, we talked about it, second-team All-American. All 3 of these guys were second-team All-Americans. All 3 could potentially have been #1 picks. Banchero, though, in this mock draft, #1 on our big boards, falls to #3 to the Houston Rockets, who have just cleared way in the front court for potentially Banchero with the trade of Christian Wood to the Dallas Mavericks, who we were talking about before we went on the air. Big-time deal. We love that for Luka and Dallas.
Could you imagine if the Sixers actually kept Christian Wood?
Played for the 87ers.
He did. He did.
How about that?
Played here at the
Christian Wood.
Fieldhouse.
Yes, he did. I'll tell you, Christian Wood.
He's had a great trajectory of his career. He's
Absolutely.
improved every season. So for him to finally be a hot commodity and people want to actually take him on and pay him the money, good job, Christian Wood. Shout out to Coach Joe.
That's right, exactly. Getting it going there.
Former players
at
there.
Open Gym tonight, I believe, getting some stuff going. So yeah, we hope to have him back soon. That takes us to pick #4, and this is where a lot of the talk has been leading up to the draft tomorrow night. What is Sacramento going to do? Jaden Ivey reportedly not taking the interviews, did not do a private workout with Sacramento. We kind of know the background to the culture with the Kings. Not a lot of people maybe want to go play there. A lot of picks haven't necessarily turned out the best there in Sacramento. Ivey maybe seems to be a little off put by the Kings, but if they're there at 4, me and you have to agree he is the best player on the board. He
is the best player at 4. I definitely agree with you on that. But I think even if they draft him at 4, he doesn't stay. I'm reminded of a scenario from many, many moons ago when the Vancouver Grizzlies drafted Steve Francis, and he refused to go to Vancouver and got traded to the Rockets on draft night. So I see a similar scenario. I think Jaden Ivey goes home to Indiana. I think they work out a trade.
That would be interesting. I like that. Obviously, we know the Pacers tried to move Malcolm Brogdon. They've been engaged in trade talks for that point guard in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens there. Sacramento has been fielding calls, as we talked about, all week as well. This is supposed to be the hot spot where they are looking to potentially maybe trade out of it if Ivey and them can't maybe agree to him going to Sacramento or something along those lines. They've been taking calls from the Pistons, the Pacers, up and down the line, teams trying to move up because this is supposed to be the sweet spot. It's a 4-person, top-heavy draft. You got the 3 maybe potential All-Stars. Ivey's right in there at that mix at number 4. They're going to be taking a lot of calls, and it would not surprise me to see them trade out of that pick tomorrow night.
Yeah, Jaden Ivey had a great tournament until that last game against St. Peter's.
Mm-hmm. But again, we talk about St. Peter's. They made a lot of people first-round picks look bad in that tournament.
But until that game, he was unstoppable. But at the same time, he still passed the eye test this year. I mean, with playing at Purdue and then having a mom as a NCAA coach as well at Notre Dame, so he's already been around the game, the system, been around top women's players and top men's players for a long time, so he soaked up all that knowledge and put it into his own game, and you saw it on the court. But I would say draft comparison for me, for Jaden Ivey, would be Ja Morant.
And again, we've talked about some of these next-gen stats. Jaden Ivey, the fastest college basketball player this season on record in the last 20 years. Second to
Ja Morant.
Ja Morant, the fastest. Jaden Ivey right behind him there. So he's got speed. You love to get him out in transition. Obviously, can put the ball on the floor.
And once he gets in the air,
exactly.
It's night-night.
Exactly. And again, making strides. He's a sophomore. From his freshman year, shot about 22% from 3, 40% in his sophomore year, so you see the trajectory going upwards for Jaden Ivey. Definitely a lock to go in the top 4. The question, though, will be where
will he land?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll come. That's going to be one of the major themes and talking points of the draft tomorrow night. Let's head to pick number 5. Things get interesting now, Jason, from here on out. You got the top 4. Now anything could happen here from 5 to 30 in the first round. The 5th pick belongs to the Detroit Pistons, who had a pretty good second half of their NBA season, or at least after the All-Star break. Some of those young guys started to put some things together, led by Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, and company.
Sadiq Bey had an awesome season for Detroit.
Go Cats, the Villanova product
for
Sadiq Bey. I mean, he's looked good. So Detroit, we've heard they've called Sacramento about that 4th pick. They maybe want to move up because they want to pair Jaden Ivey with Cade Cunningham, something that maybe you don't understand as well.
I don't understand it because in today's NBA, you can't have that small of a backcourt. It only works in Golden State.
When you can shoot the lights out. Yeah.
Small backcourts in today's game, you had to be at least 6'5", 6'5" in today's NBA because all guards are like 6'7" now, and you have teams who throw out four guards and one big, and they're like 6'7", 6'8", and the big is 6'10".
Small ball lineups.
Small ball lineups are what's in right now. So I think for the Pistons, if I were them at 5, I'm really high on Shaedon Sharpe. I would draft Shaedon Sharpe at 5.
And again, I actually have Shaedon Sharpe, number 5 on my big board as well. Detroit Pistons for the mock draft. We have Keegan Murray from Iowa, at least what we think is going to go to the Pistons at 5. But that could, again, it's going to be crazy from 5 to 30. They could, could be Ben Mathurin from Arizona, could be Shaedon Sharpe.
You really can't go wrong with Ben Mathurin at 5 either because of what he brings from a defensive standpoint, and he's also a very, very proven scorer. I mean, this game right here against TCU is where I actually like, wow, he can do it at the next level. This game proved to me when this game went to 2 overtime or something like that, and he just took over the game overtime and put them on his back. So I think Mathurin or Sharp at 5 works well. I don't think that Keegan Murray can run in that system in Detroit at 5. So that's the reason why I wouldn't put him with the Pistons at 5, because of the system that they run.
And we'll dive into Keegan Murray in a little bit. Let's talk about Ben Mathurin, number 6 on my big board behind Shadon Sharp. 6'6", 210 pounds, the 6'9" wingspan for the second-team All-American. He was your Pac-12 Player of the Year. We talked about that regular season Arizona team was lights out. They were phenomenal. Number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They were cruising all year long, and then when they got to the NCAA tournament, they just could not find a rhythm at all. Even the 2 games they ended up winning were close games against much lower seeds. So Arizona and Ben Mathurin maybe didn't have the best showing there, but if you watched him all year, you know what that Pac-12 Player of the Year can do. 17.7 points, just under 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 45% from the floor, also a 37% three-point shooter, second-team All-American.
That stood out to me, his three-point shooting. I really don't like his shot mechanics, honestly, but it goes in. And for him to shoot 37% in that system in Arizona, because he's not getting a lot of spot-up threes. He's getting pull-ups and off a curl. But for him to shoot that high percentage already, if you can bump that up to about 39, 40 in the NBA, along with his other skill set, he's a slasher. He can go to the basket. He's a great finisher with both hands. He finishes through contact. So you add that consistent three-point game with the rest of his game, and then the defense that he brings, intensity, the long arms, the play in the passing lanes. Whoever gets him is going to get a great player.
Yeah, great in the passing lanes. We talked about it. The big thing with him is he's flying up here as of late due to the private workouts. He's supposedly been phenomenal in these private team workouts. He's flying up the charts. Wouldn't shock me to see him go 5 to Detroit, but as well, Keegan Murray definitely in play there for the Pistons at 5 as well. But let's keep it moving. Let's talk about Keegan Murray, because at 6 is the Indiana Pacers. So you got the Pistons with Murray maybe at 5 or Mathurin, and then the Pacers get either one of the 2 here at 6. For the sake of the mock draft, we'll have Murray 5 and now Mathurin going 6 to the Pacers. But let's talk a little bit about Indiana. They're looking to move Malcolm Brogdon, potentially Miles Turner. They want to bring in somebody, a new point guard potentially, or draft one. It could be Mathurin here at 6, but if it does happen to be Keegan Murray, 6'8", 225, that 7'6" wingspan, I mean, just an absolutely great season. 23.5 points, 9 rebounds, an assist and a half, and 2 blocks. You're seeing the big body here for Iowa in the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten championship. Lost, though, in that first round of the NCAA tournament. But Keegan Murray, though, you can't argue what a phenomenal season he had. The only D1 player in the last 10 seasons with 50 dunks and 53 pointers. 16.5 more points from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Leads the country in points per possession. First team All-American. The accolades go on and on. But what's up with Keegan Murray in the NBA? How do you see him fitting in the association?
Think about this. This is the first player that we talked about in our mock draft so far who was a first-team All-American, and we're talking about him at 6?
And it's crazy, 1 through 5 potentially in our big board. If you disregard Shadon Sharp, Smith, Holmgren, Banchero, Ivey, and Mathurin, that's your second-team All-American, all those 5 guys.
All those 5 guys, and then you have Keegan Murray here, first-team All-American. He has an old man game. Talk about it off the air. It's an old man game, but it's smooth. It works. He picks his spots. He doesn't play too fast.
Not at all.
Doesn't play too slow. Plays at his own pace. Not saying Luka all the way, but as far as controlling his own pace and taking his time with his game, that's what he does. And I want to see how well he's going to do without his brother. Playing in the team for the first time in a while. But I think Keegan, whoever gets Keegan, they're going to get somebody who can score. Think T.J. Warren. Don't have to run plays for him, but you can score. Who also played for the Pacers as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So I see him translating well. I don't know if he's going to be a starter right away, but maybe it's like a 6-man off the bench and give him some offensive firepower. But I do think he will have a solid career. Whoever drafts him, even if he falls to 6 and stays in Indiana, great pick for them. But they're going to move Brogdon, Turner, or both of them. But who would they get in return is the better question. Right
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what Indiana decides to do. Along with the Kings, they're one of the teams to watch out for on draft night. tomorrow night.
And
so
it takes a lot of cap space, a lot of money, a lot of money.
And again, the thing with me for Keegan Murray, you mentioned the big man game, and he was so effective in that offense against some of those teams out there. But to me, he was bullying a lot of those guys inside in college. He had the size. He was bigger than them. He was able to go off the pick and roll, catch some passes, get inside the paint and lay it up and in, dunks. Though he was able to stretch the floor, knock down some threes, as you alluded to. To me, I'm not necessarily sure if he's going to be able to bring that big man game to the NBA with those big guys battling down in the paint. Again, you talk about some of these other guys. Jabari Smith, 6'10", Holmgren, 7 foot, Banchero, 6'10", Mathurin, 6'6", Keegan Murray's 6'8". For a big man. So he's going to be, obviously he's more skilled than that, but I think it's going to have a tough go around at least early for him to adjust to the NBA game. For me, I've got him a little bit further down my big board, I think 7 or 8 for me in the draft.
Well, when I look at his size again and his game, I look at player in recent memory, a local player, well, local team-wise, Sixers. These are some of the stats and numbers that Tobias Harris had come out of Tennessee. He was a big man. He was a center coming out and changed his whole game now where he's a stretch 3, stretch 4 in the NBA, but he was a 5 in college. Look at Grant Williams. Also a player who
I can see that comparison.
Who was down low, back to the basket, developed a three-point shot, but still used the foot speed to guard multiple positions. Then maybe Keegan Murray might have to follow a Grant Williams playbook to
I think it's a good comparison. Yeah. Again, Grant Williams, though, playing obviously above where he was drafted with the Boston Celtics. So for us, just to recap the mock draft here, again, not the big board. Jabari Smith, 1 to the Magic. Chet Holmgren, for me, 2 to the Thunder. Paolo Banchero, 3 to the Rockets. Jaden Ivey, 4 to the Kings / whoever decides to pick there. And then the Pistons with Ben Mathurin and the Indiana Pacers with Keegan Murray, and you could swap those if you feel there. But let's move on to number 7 in the Portland Trailblazers. Portland, they are in apparently not rebuild mode. They've got Dame, who's going to be back next year from injury. The rumors are they want to win right now, and they want to add somebody that can help them do that. They want to win as soon as possible, somebody that they can insert right away that can make a difference. And I'm looking down here. For me, I have Dyson Daniels from the G League Ignite going 8 here. I'm not particularly a big Dyson Daniels fan. Obviously, I know big defensively. They want an older guy that they think's more mature, can come in and win now. And I think I know where you might go with this, but they got a little of a backcourt there in Portland already. I love Shadon Sharpe here to Portland, but for the mock draft, I'm going Dyson Daniels.
Portland's in rebuilding mode. Don't listen to what they're saying. You can't trade away CJ and other players and say you're not in a rebuilding mode. There's no way you can do that. That backcourt was together for, what, 6-7 years? How are you not in rebuilding mode?
Again, they want to insert. They said they can win now with Lillard and Anthony Simons.
Win now with who?
Lillard and Simons. So for me, and again, if I'm them, I take Shadon Sharpe at 7, or excuse me, 7 for Portland. I think he'd be the best player on the board. I think he's going to develop into a phenomenal 2-guard. But when you got Damian Lillard and they've got Anthony Simons, who's still young, obviously a similar player to Shadon Sharpe from IMG, never
Which
played
is
a
why
college
he won't
minute.
go number 7 to Portland. He's the only one to drop because of what they already had.
And that's what we have here in our mock draft. So we're going to go Dyson Daniels. You see him on your screen from the G League Ignite. Interesting year for him, 6'6", 200 pounds, got that 6'11" wingspan. He's going to be able to play defense for you. 11.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists with those 2 steals per game. I'm going to have to improve on the three-point percentage. He did do that as the season progressed. 34.7 in the tour, the showcase, just 25% from 3. But he's also obviously an Australian, is Dyson Daniels. What do you think about him? Have you seen much of him, and where do you see him?
No, I've seen Dyson's games. I actually saw this game right here, Ignite versus DC Go-Go, and he had a great game in that game. But he's just he stands out. He's very athletic. Like I said, his frames are pretty solid, 6'6", 200 pounds. I think he's going to add on probably another 20, 30 pounds of muscle. And I don't think he's done growing yet. I think he might have another 3 inches height-wise to go, too. So can you imagine 19. Him at 6'9", 230 in about 2 years? He's going to be an unstoppable force as far as from a physical standpoint. So I like the pick for Portland. He actually reminds me of when Anthony Simons came out. They drafted him similar size, similar build. But in Anthony Simons, now Anthony Simons has to prove that he's worth the pick. He's always had flashes of brilliance, but now he needs to have that consistent brilliancy with CJ being gone now, with just him and Dame. So I think Simons will step up. I think that's a new backcourt. And I think that you can plug Dyson in as probably a 3.
You get him running out there. I'm sure, maybe start with the second team, maybe, see how he does in summer league, and maybe he can make it in with that first unit come the start of the season. Again, big board for me. Daniels is kind of down. I have him at 15 on my big board, 8 here, going to the Portland Trailblazers. He's flying up the draft board. Some teams do really like him, so would not shock us to see him go 8 to Portland. Let's move on to 9 and the New Orleans Pelicans. They've been shopping the pick around, trying to feel it out, right? Here.
Number 8?
Excuse me, number 8, yes. So they've been shopping that pick around. They could stay put and select Jason, and if they do, for me, is adding some depth to that backcourt, and that, for me, is the 6'6", Dream City Christian kid, Shadon Sharpe.
Sharpe, if you go here, you're starting, sir. I mean, this is what it is.
I like his fit in New Orleans.
I like his fit in New Orleans, because I think you can slide CJ over to the point.
I think so, too. He could definitely run an offense. If you get Zion come back, Ingram at the 3, I think that you add Sharpe, and these are some of his high school highlights. Obviously, has not played in a year and a half. One of the most interesting players, could have the highest ceiling of all of these players. The highest ceiling. And there are some good ones in this draft.
I think Sharpe has the highest ceiling. We all know about his difficulty getting on the floor at Kentucky, being hurt, and then some paperwork issues and things. But I think Sharpe was a no-brainer first rounder, even without playing this year. So we knew last year coming in that he's going to be a first-round draft pick because of what he did in high school. So I think if New Orleans keeps this pick and drafts Sharpe at 8, that's going to be a scary lineup.
I agree.
I love it.
I love his fit in New Orleans. Again, you look at some of his Nike, eyeball stats, EYBL, excuse me, if you will. 22.6 rebounds, points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in that basketball league. He led the event in points scored and in the top 5 in three-pointers made. Obviously, the #1 recruit in the class of 2023, reclassified to go to Kentucky, did not obviously work out there. So his trainer, he's Canadian. He's another one of these Canadian basketball players. So his trainer, who worked out with both R.J. Barrett and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander before the draft, they all share the same trainer. He said that Shadon Sharpe is, quote, light years ahead of those two guys at the same point in their career, and they're both already phenomenal basketball players.
I agree with that assessment.
And if that's the assessment, you got to think this kid's something special.
Wasn't Sharpe the MVP of the Peach Jam?
Yeah,
last year?
I think he was. The Peach Jam, if you ever been there, that's a heck of an event there at Peach Jam. But again, didn't play Kentucky, just 19 years old. A lot of mystery surrounding Sharpe. Ceiling, that's the question. Maybe the highest ceiling. You don't know about the floor. You might not be able to get him out there right away. Hasn't played a college or NBA game. Obviously, like maybe some of these G League guys have played and had that experience. We talked about him on our big board. Got him at number 5. Would be a big pick here for New Orleans at 8. And maybe, again, there's been discussions about that pick. If Sharpe falls to 8, somebody else is going to jump up and take him. I'm not sure he gets there.
However, I know we're saying at 8, but thinking about it, I saw earlier last week about Dame Lillard is very high on Sharpe. So Portland, if you're at 7 and if your star likes a guy, you go get him. So I think he's going to go either 7 or 8 in this draft.
If I was Portland, I'd take him 7, but then again, I'd take him maybe at 6.
5.
I mean, he picked before 4.
He's a player where if he goes top 5, I'm not surprised at the
draft. I agree. I mean, it would surprise me the top 4. I think those 4 are set, but
I think 5. If he goes at 5, I'm not surprised at all.
I'm with you.
Not surprised at all if he goes at 5.
Again, Shadon Sharpe, a lot of mystery, but should be a fantastic prospect, one of the best going forward. So that takes us now to San Antonio at pick number 9. They've got 3 first-round picks. They do not want to keep all 3. That's what's coming out of San Antonio, but this one will be the one they probably choose to keep and maybe move back up with the other 2.
They're keeping this one.
So they're at 9, and if it were to fall this way, we have them taking Jalen Duren. Obviously, made his announcement to commitment to Memphis right here at the Grail a Delaware kid, obviously, and he's going to be exciting to watch. You saw him at Memphis this year. I mean, a little bit raw. #1 overall recruit back then. You saw a little bit of the flashes his freshman year at Memphis, but only room to grow for this young guy. 18 and a half years old.
18, Delaware. It was Bones last year in the first round. This year it's going to be Jalen.
How about that? 2 first-round picks.
2 first-round picks back-to-back. And he fits that system perfectly in San Antonio. I mean, him and Lonnie Walker and DeJounte Murray.
And Podol, I believe,
And
maybe in his
Jakob
last year of
Poeltl.
his contract could be out of
But
there.
can you imagine a fast break with him running the middle of the lane, filling the lane?
I'm sure that's what Pop's thinking about right now.
And the fact that he can rebound. And we didn't really see his best work at Memphis because he was kind of, it was a log jam of players there for him, although he got a lot of run in the American tournament and then the NCAA tournament, but log jam with him and another couple of players that were top recruits there. So I think him going to the NBA, you'll get to see his full game, his full arsenal. And again, Delaware, we got another one. That's all I'll say.
Jalen Duren, 6'11", 250, has that 7'5" wingspan. Is going to really help out San Antonio if he gets picked there 9th. AAC Freshman of the Year.
And I watch Memphis games all the time, Grizzlies, and I watch the Tigers. So I've seen him play a lot of times, and he's going to be a solid prospect and solid player in the NBA.
Going top 10 in our mock, number 9 to San Antonio. To number 10, the Washington Wizards. Word is they want to bring in a point guard or a player that will help keep Bradley Beal in Washington. As a Sixer fan, I hope that's nobody left on the board, as maybe he'll make his way up to the Wells Fargo Center maybe this season. But they want to bring somebody in that's going to entice Bradley Beal to stay. I've got him taking the first-team All-American Johnny Davis from Wisconsin to round out the top 10.
No one they draft, not even a current NBA player, is going to be enough to keep Brad Beal in D.C. I think his run in D.C. is a I don't care who it is. It could be a current player. I mean, it didn't work. I mean, him and John Wall worked really together for years for the injuries. Him and Westbrook didn't click. I mean, they've tried players. You had Porzingis this year. I think Brad Beal's time is up. I just think, I don't care who you put in D.C., I think he's gone. But Johnny Davis is a great player here for the Wizards, but I don't think he goes to the Wizards. I think he drops a little bit further. And just looking at all the players here, they want a guard. I wouldn't be surprised. This is where you start to see surprises.
Yeah, this first round's going to be interesting after.
So a surprise at 10, just looking at all of my paperwork here and the draft board and things of that nature. Don't be surprised if Ty Washington goes 10.
Ty Washington.
Don't be surprised if Ty goes 10 because people trust the Kentucky pedigree.
You know, again, there are some good point guards in here in this draft, Johnny Davis being one of them. He was the first-team All-American. I do like the freshmen, Ty and Kennedy Chandler from Tennessee, who I have going a little bit later on. I got Ty at 17 on my big board, Kennedy Chandler at 18 on the big board, Johnny Davis in the top 10 for me. But again, those point guards I think are going to creep their way up. I don't know if it's going to be all the way at 10, but I'm with you.
Because with this draft, after top 7, it's really a free-for-all. It's a matter of fit. Because you don't have 10 solid, 1 through 10. I know you're going 1 through 10. After 7, you start.
After even 4,
I would say definitely after 7, you start drawing straws, and you start based on fit and need for your team. So that's why I think a surprise pick would be Ty Washington from Kentucky, the combo guard at number 10 to DC.
I like Ty Washington, 17 on the big board right now. Would not shock me if he creeps up the draft. I personally am a big fan. And then you see Johnny Davis, just to go back there. He's going to be somewhere. He's not going to make it out of the lottery, that's for sure. 6'5", 194, that's 6'8.5" wingspan, just under 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists for Wisconsin, 31% shooter from beyond the arc. 7 points his freshman year to over 20 his sophomore year. Again, improvement for Johnny Davis. Again, and he is a first-team All-American. What a
second first-team. Second All-American here. I've been talking about here. First-team All-American.
Keegan Murray being the first.
Yeah.
So Johnny Davis, again, you see him on the big board.
Same conference. Think about that.
Going 10, yeah, to Washington, at least for us. It wouldn't shock me, though, Jason, has Ty going up there to the Wizards. You got to convince Bradley Beal to at least maybe think about staying. We'll see what they do there. But let's go to another big pick. And every year, everybody loves to see what the New York Knicks are going to do. Here they are, Jason, at pick number 11. They are looking to move up. They've been engaged with trade talks with Sacramento at 4. Jaden Ivey is their dream scenario. That's what they would love, nothing more than to somehow get their hands on Ivey. It would cost them according to some sources, a steep price to get from 11 to 4. We'll see if they can do it, but they've been taking calls at 11 all week as they're looking to get off some salary. Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, even Kemba Walker, they want to clear those off the books. They want to go after Jalen Brunson in free agency.
Well, Sacramento's dumb enough to take some of those players. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, their front office is horrendous. They draft well, but they don't add veteran players well. So I can see the Knicks going up to 4 to get Jaden Ivey, but it's going to cost you.
It's going to cost.
It's going to cost you a couple starters and some picks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the name that pops in my mind, I think they would have to. I'm sorry, 2 names. Well, really 1. They're going to have to trade Obi Toppin. I think you have to get rid of Obi.
Maybe even Emmanuel Quickly along
Quickly
in there too.
I think
First rounders.
You might have to package Quickly, Toppin, and the pick.
Yeah,
to
easily.
get Jaden Ivey.
At least.
That's the only way Sacramento does business with you. But the problem with the Knicks is not even where they draft, but how will they fill their roster? That's the problem with the Knicks. And then you still have Coach Tibbs, who's great defensively, but he runs everybody in the ground. I mean, how healthy is this Knicks roster going to be going into the season? And what do you do with Julius Randle? Great season 2 years ago. Last year kind of dropped off, but you saw his immaturity resurface with his complaints to the refs, complaining about the crowd and everything else. He's still a fan favorite.
Down year for
He's still a
him.
fan
Not down, but yeah, you're right.
He's still a fan favorite in New York, but I question his mental toughness playing in that market.
Yeah, I mean, they got the 4 seed 2 years ago. Knicks we're coming back. We're coming back. Last year, a big down year. Not what they expected coming off that 4th seed in the Eastern Conference just a year prior. So who do we have them taking at 11? Again, they're looking to move up. Would not shock me if they do so. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they find a way to move up. Maybe if it's not to 4, I think they move up into the top 10 somehow. I'm going to say that. But if they stick at 11, I think a guy that stands out to me, Jason, is A.J. Griffin, the 45% three-point shooter from Duke, 6'6", 220, got that 7-foot wingspan. His 45% from 3, second highest ever for a Duke freshman. Is this a good spot for A.J. Griffin?
No, because they already have that type of player in R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, 2 former Duke players. I don't think they go Duke again.
No?
I don't think they go Duke 3 times in a row. As far as getting Cam Reddish from the Hawks in the trade, of course, but I don't think you keep that many players same size, similar skill set. I think that's gonna be a log jam, and
They need some shooting.
they need shooting. But if I'm looking at
where are you going here? What do you
at the
think?
Knicks like that with shooting, I mean, let's go through this board here. Let's see what we're doing. I mean, they need a guard. They need a point. I mean, and this is where you start getting stupid with picks going up.
This could be a realistic spot for Ty then. If
It could be Ty here.
I mean,
This could be
Ty.
Ty here. Honestly, if it doesn't go, this could be Ty here. But also with the Knicks front office, they do crazy things. You could probably see somebody like Dalen Terry going 11 to the Knicks, because the point guard, but he's 6'7", and he shoots 36% from the 3.
I mean, again, it wouldn't shock me at all.
And to compete with the teams in the Eastern Conference that have big lineups, to pair
He's
him with
athletic,
RJ,
too. Could be athletic.
that would be a perfect lineup, big lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see, I just see weird things happening past 10, because like I said, you don't have, you have a bunch of great college players, but you don't have any standouts past number 10. So anything can happen. I think this is where you're going to see a bunch of trades for other players that are going to be picked later, but also some trades for some current players who people don't want to pay the max contracts for, so they're probably going to be traded for draft picks in this year's draft. I see a lot of trades happening.
It could be exciting.
I see at least 5 or 6 trades happening on draft night.
That would be an exciting draft night. I'm with you. You look at Sacramento, you look at New York, even the Pelicans, the Spurs, and they're going to gauge some interest there. Let's head now to pick 12. OKC's second pick. Obviously, they have pick number 2. For us, they took Chet Holmgren there. Now, where do they go here at 12? Again, for me, it's a player that I don't have in my top 17 on my big board. It's Ousmane Dieng from the New Zealand Breakers, 19 years old. Him in the last week have been one of the highest risers. He's been one of the high risers. He's flying up the charts. Maybe a month or 2 ago was a late first-round pick. Now he's making his way into a potential lottery pick. Again, played in some of the same type situations as LaMelo Ball and R.J. Hampton back when they were playing in a similar league here. Have you seen Ousmane Dieng? 9 points, 3 rebounds, and assists, but you know those numbers are deceiving in this type of league action. LaMelo, RJ Hampton's kind of similar.
In the NBL, yeah. I think because he played in the NBL, he already has some professional experience. I think this would be a great pick. I think that with OKC, they're like
they like those guys.
They're like Dallas Mavericks. They're masters at picking international players.
Like San Antonio as well, yeah.
And San Antonio, and they fit their system. And I think this would be a great pick, Dieng, to go there, and he could possibly start at OKC.
Again, it's going to be an interesting line. If you think Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, and then, I mean, that lineup pretty much roster is open for tweaking. And Chet Holmgren to that lineup with maybe a potential here in Dieng, they could have some talent. And again, you
they
talk
add a
about
different pieces there. You know. So what I see, what Presti's doing, and remember, OKC has the most money of any NBA team, salary cap.
Yes, and that obviously we know what Sam Presti could do.
So they can do whatever they want, but this looks like what they were doing in the early years with drafting KD and Jeff Green and Harden and Westbrook. I think that's what they're doing again. They're building a farm system again. And in 2-3 years, you're going to be talking about the Thunder as a top team in the Western Conference because of all the young talent that was homegrown and developed.
And Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously a good talent there. Giddey had a good rookie year, second team all-rookie. Some could argue should have been first team all-rookie for them. They've done a good job with those guys, and we'll see if they can add another one in Ousmane Dieng here. OKC picking with 3 first-round picks for the second consecutive year. They could thank Paul George and the Clippers for that. Yeah, so they got picks in the first round at the wazoo these next couple years, back-to-back with 3 picks in round number 1. So there are 12 with Ousmane Dieng. That takes us to 13. The Hornets here at 13, Jason, they're at 13 and 15. They could stay at both. Some rumors going on there is they want to get rid of one and keep one. If they stand here pat at 13, this is a guy that I really liked. I thought he was great in the NCAA tournament. That's the center from Duke, the sophomore Mark Williams, who I think could be a great fit with LaMelo Ball in the Charlotte Hornets.
I like Mark Williams. But I like him at the next pick. I think.
So who do you got going here to 13?
Agbaji from Kansas goes
Agbaji, okay.
Agbaji goes to, because I think you may have to have an insurance plan in case Miles Bridges asks for too much money. And
time's coming, right?
Time's coming. Remember, he bet on himself last year. He played on a 1-year deal.
Played a great year last year. Best year.
So I think if they can't match the offer that he's going to get from multiple teams, they get to have an insurance policy, and that's why I think Agbaji goes 13 to the Hornets. So he had a great run in the tournament.
6'5", 215. Coach Bill Self said he had the second best season that he's ever witnessed at Kansas, maybe the best, him and Frank Mason being the other guy with
Frank
phenomenal
Mason, that's
years.
a name for you.
Right, back
a current
in Kansas.
King right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't even know if he's still on the Kings. Big 12 Player of the Year, Final Four Most Outstanding Player, and a first-team All-American. The accolades don't get much better than that. In the NBA, though, Jason, he's going to be your prototypical 3-and-D guy. He can shoot the three from at a very high clip. 19 points, 5 rebounds, and assists. The percentages are great across the board. 47.5 from the floor, 41 for 3. The only player with 100 three-pointers made and 30-plus dunks in a college season. Agbaji, he's some type of offensive weapon, and he's going to be big, a little bit long with that 6'10" wingspan, 3-and-D in the NBA.
And I think with Charlotte, they can score, but they can't defend. They can score with anyone, but they cannot defend. And I think if he's picked at 13, I think they solve that problem. And I think even if you re-sign Miles Bridges, I think there's still a place for Agbaji on the floor.
You definitely get in there to 2 or 3 for sure.
Get him out of there. Gordon Hayward,
I heard they're looking to move Gordon Hayward off the books. They're looking to move him. One of the guys they brought up was LA with the Lakers.
Gordon Hayward has been stealing money for the last 3 years.
So we'll see what happens there. He stole
money from Boston, he stole money from Charlotte.
Let's talk now about Mark Williams while we're on the subject. We've got
yeah.
Agbaji for me going 14 to Cleveland. So we're going to swap these two and have Mark Williams. We'll just talk about him here, 14 to the Cavaliers. I had him going 13 to Charlotte. 7'2", 240 pounds, 7'7", wingspan. You saw the elite shot blocking at Duke, phenomenal tournament.
Say it again.
He's the 4th player in 20 years, Jason, with 50 points and 15 blocks entering the Final Four. So in just those tournament games, the 4th ever. Again, let's talk about it. 7'7" wingspan for Mark Williams. He'll be anchoring the middle for somebody going forward.
Somebody, but it won't be Cleveland. I think
and let me tell you, Jason, you know what the most impressive part about Mark Williams? Not the shot blocking, not the dunks for Lob City. To me, it's the free throw shooting. 73% free throw shooter for a big fellow
for
like
a big
that.
man. But I think because of the law, if he falls to Cleveland at 14, I don't think they draft him because they already have Jarrett Allen, and they already have Evan Mobley, and they have Laurie Markin, and they already have a bunch of big men.
That's why I have him going 13 to the Hornets.
I see that.
But I'll tell you, I love them. We talked about him coming in. I thought he was great in the NCAA tournament. I think he's going to be a great pick in this year's draft for somebody that needs somebody in the middle that can rim protect, also can catch some of those lobs, maybe like little DeAndre Jordan action there early in his career for Mark Williams. So let's go to 15 with Charlotte again. Here they are, if they're still put. And Jason, where would you go if you're 15 for the Hornets? And I'll tell you where I would go after. Because to me, there's a guy that I think here now is a freshman from the Big 12. I think could go here at 15, but I think he has a chance to go in the 10 to 13 range, maybe 9 to 13. For me, that's Jeremy Sohan from Baylor, the freshman. I mean, he was a big recruit coming out for them. 6'9", 230, has that 7-foot wingspan. Talk about energy. He'll bring the energy. Talk about defense. He can guard 1 through 5, one of the best defenders there in the country last season. It gives me Dennis Rodman vibes a little bit for me. I mean, the way, the energy, the passion he plays with, he gets under your skin. He'll talk to you during the game. He can rebound. He irritates. That's a perfect way of putting it. And then he can step out and hit the three. Just 30%, showed it more towards the end of the season. Again, free throw percentage is going to have to come up. He was the Big 12 6th man of the year last year for Baylor, but I really like Jeremy Sohan here.
Yeah, Jeremy Sohan would be a solid pick here for the Hornets. Like I say, he does a little bit of everything. You
got the Rodman little bit
of
hair dye.
Rodman's a little weird. He gave us fits in that second round matchup with Tar Heels. He's the reason why the game went to overtime. And I think Jordan took notice of that. Obviously, being Tar Heel himself.
That's right. Yeah.
So he made one. Well, you were almost Tar Heel killer. So come to Charlotte and give me some NBA players for me. So
again, you hear some people talking about him from 9 to 13. If he falls to 15, I think he will
And that's the
not.
difference with him, his outside shooting.
And he's getting better.
And he's getting better at it. And
Still young.
Like you said, the NBA game is going towards a big who can put the ball on the floor but also shoot the three. But like you said, his free throw shooting was key for that Baylor team all year. Remember, this is a Baylor team that was just a year ago national champions.
Yep.
So.
And he was their big recruit this year, coming to Baylor.
Yeah.
Again, I like what I've seen out of Sohan here. I think he's going to be a great pick. Again, 6th man of the year. If he can step out, hit that outside shot, and bring that tenacity to a team, I think he goes maybe a little bit earlier than here at 15. I have him at 8 on my big board. Let's move now to 16 to the Atlanta Hawks. So the Hawks.
What will they do?
2 years ago, Jason, they beat the Sixers. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, they're in the play-in game. That is not where management wanted them to be the year after an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. So a lot of stuff going on in that front office. They reportedly want to make some big moves in free agency. They want to go out and sign some big fish. They want to trade John Collins. He's their guy that they're looking to move now. They've had talks all week. They've had talks all week. It is almost guaranteed he will not be a member of the Hawks next year. So we're going to see where he goes.
That's silly.
Interesting there. They said everybody on the roster is available besides Trae Young, and one more interesting one here. DeAndre Hunter, the other guy. They will not trade Young or Hunter. They said everybody else is available. So this could be a move for them. They can move out of 16. They could trade up. They could trade down. They could trade for maybe another player from another team. The Hawks could go in a bunch of different directions here at 16. I have them taking in my opinion, the best scorer on the board here, and that's Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. Played in the WCC last year with Gonzaga and St. Mary's and those teams. To me, I liked what I saw on tape. I really thought he could shoot, he could score. 6'6", 195, has that 7'2" wingspan. And again, able to create his own shot, knock down big shots, 18 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists with a steal, 40% three-point shooter, over 50% from the floor, first team WCC. And Jason, he's going to be the first Santa Clara player drafted since
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash in 1996. So what do you think about Jalen Williams? I like him a lot here. I have him 13 on my big board. Again, that maybe some people have him a little bit lower. I think he's a great scorer. I think he would fit in nicely alongside Trae Young in that offense.
He's a great scorer, but they already have Kevin Huerter playing that same position already.
Kevin Huerter can't create his own shot. Kevin, not like this.
Not like that, but I think you still – I don't get why they're trying to trade John Collins in the first place. I'm sorry. I don't – when you have talent like that that's been proven in that system, you don't let them walk.
Maybe
you don't
injury?
let them go away.
I don't know, yeah.
No, I think it's internal. I think it's more of a rift with management, and he wants to get out of there. I think it's something that's been behind the scenes for a while. But I can see Williams going to Atlanta. But Atlanta, you have a great coach, Coach McMillan. Trae Young needs to get in the weight room. He needs to, he honestly, to do what Steph did after Steph lost the 2019 finals, he got bigger.
Yes, he did. And he was able to finish at the rim.
At the rim and stay in games longer and play more minutes. I think that's what Trae Young's evolution, he needs to get a little bit bigger. Because he can do everything else on the floor now. But you saw in that series against Miami, he couldn't handle the pressure. He couldn't handle the physicality, the double teams, the clogging the passing lane. So he has to add something else to his game. I think it would be him becoming more physical and actually shooting more from the mid-range.
You saw Steph do it in the finals.
So I think if he adds the mid-range element to his game and adds a little bit more size, then that'll take him to the next level, which is already a great player. But to remain ice Trae, he has to do those things.
And we'll see what
he does. And I think this pick
year
would help him do that.
Again, you talk about 2 years ago, Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, a 10 seed in the last spot in the Eastern Conference play-in. So again, Atlanta didn't like, or at least management again last year, they didn't think that represented them well. They're going to look to make some big moves and try to get back into contention next year with Trae Young. Over to 17, the Houston Rockets now with their second pick here in the first round.
I think we agree on this one.
So again, Malachi Branham,
I
as
think
we're
we
going
agree on
here in
this
the
one.
mock draft from Ohio State, a very talented player. The shooting guard can score the basketball. 19 years old, a freshman, Big Ten freshman of the year. Talk a little bit about Malachi Branham, what he could bring to the team here at pick 17 to Houston.
He brings scoring. He just brings instant offense. And I think sometimes it takes Jalen Green a while to get going, honestly, in the game.
And you're going to have hopefully Paolo or one of those other big guys there. It's be a good fit.
It could be a good fit. You have a little baby three, if you will, with the players there. But I think
Kevin Porter Jr. still there as well.
I think with Branham, we forgot about Kevin Porter Jr. But I think that Branham would be he would be in a rotation, maybe like a 6 through 8, 9 type player coming in the game right now for Houston. Because like you said, they have KPJ, they have Jalen Green.
Maybe John Wall.
Maybe John. Honestly,
he will not be a Rocket. I guarantee
he won't
that.
be a Rocket, but if they want to increase his value, they might want to start him at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, trade him a little bit, maybe later.
Later on. But I do like the pick with Branham. Like I said, Big Ten freshman of the year, 6'5", 180. He still has room to grow at 19 years old. He probably hasn't reached his adult NBA body yet either. Yeah. So
19 again, another 19-year-old here in the first round.
So yeah, the sky's the limit for Branham, and I think it's a very solid pick at 17 for Houston.
42% from three for Malachi Branham.
Which is why in that system that they've running fun and gun, if you will, you shoot threes, you rebound, you outlets and fast breaks. He can do all of that.
Again, can create his own shot, got to mid-range, got beyond the arc. We talked about that, 83% from the free throw line. His first 22 games at Ohio State averaged just 10 points. His last 10, over 20. So a big jump right there in the mid-season for Malachi Branham, and he's going to ride that momentum into being a first-round pick here tomorrow night.
I mean, it's something about Ohio State with shooting guards. We can even go all the way back to the days of Jim Jackson, who was a top pick in the early 90s in the draft. And then you have Michael Redd, had a great career.
Michael
with
Redd.
the Bucks. So
yes, he did. I was a Michael Redd fan.
They produce quality shooting guards at Ohio State. It's a known fact. I don't know what's in the water there with shooting guards, but they put him out there, and he's next in line.
17 to the Rockets goes Malachi Branham. Again, he could go earlier too. That would not shock either of us, I'm sure, if he went for anywhere from 14 to 17 as well. So let's keep it moving to 18. The Chicago Bulls. They could go a number of directions here. Jason, I'm going to go with Tari Eason, the sixth man from LSU, the Cincinnati transfer. Really showed himself here for LSU this year. Had a big year. Again, off the bench, over 18 points a game for him. You saw him a little bit in the tournament in that first game. 6'8", 216, has that 7'2" wingspan. Again, off the bench, he gave him 24 minutes, 18, 6.6, and then 52%. Also 36% from three. You're going to see him knock down some threes as well. Can even hit the free throws at an 80% clip. So a lot of question marks around Tari Eason here after transferring from Cincinnati. Played very well, though, for LSU in his first year in the SEC.
Not so fast. Put a Lee Corso when you, my friend.
There we go.
The Bulls, even in the playoffs and the last games of the regular season, it was point guard play they were missing. Once Lonzo Ball went down,
that was big.
Their season changed because from a
You're
point guard,
right.
from a playmaking standpoint, also from a defensive standpoint. So if we're talking about the Bulls needing a point guard who's healthy and can start right away or come off the bench, I'm going to talk about your other guy that you liked. I think this is where Kenley Chandler from Tennessee goes.
Yeah, I like that.
At 18.
And again, we're hearing from the Bulls, they are shopping Kobe White. So maybe move him out and you bring in Kenley Chandler.
Leave him
Kobe
alone.
White's still pretty good. Played a pretty good year, decent year when he came back.
But he's not a point guard. That's the reason why I think
he's a scorer.
He's a scorer,
Yeah.
so he has got to Chicago. But I like Kenley Chandler at 18.
I like him there. And again, if you look at my big board, I have Tari Eason 22, Chandler 19. So on my big board, I have Chandler ahead of Eason. For the mock draft, I'm going to go Eason here to the Bulls, but you're absolutely right. I like that pick if they were to go point guard as well there. Let's move to 19 and Minnesota. The Timberwolves coming off a very emotional play-in and then that tough series loss to the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. Gave Memphis a run for their money with their big three, Edwards, and obviously Karl Anthony Towns. But I have him improving on the defensive end of things here. A guy you knew started his career at North Carolina, ended up transferring to Auburn, and that's your Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, Walker Kessler. I've got him going to Minnesota to help anchor them defensively underneath. 7'1", 256 pounds, 7'4" wingspan, 155 blocks last year. That's good for 4.7 a game for the big fella. What do you think about Walker Kessler?
Walker, we still love you, buddy. We still love you.
Again, he couldn't get on the floor. I mean, Baycott and all those guys, and then he goes to Auburn.
He couldn't go on the floor, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So, boy, Walker here is a great pick. Go Celtics. But it's a great pick. Walker Kessler here at 19 is a great pick.
And you're going to see some of these shot blocks.
Some of these shot blocks here. I mean, the top shot blockers all season were him and Chet Holmgren, so they were all in competition for Defensive Player of the Year all season long. But Kessler brings a little bit more to the table on a defensive standpoint. And as you can see, he can actually run the floor.
Pick and roll action.
Pick and roll action, a little high-low action with him. But yeah, I think at 19 in Minnesota, I think you need that difference between him and Cat.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking exactly.
So you need that off the bench. And with the second unit, I think he'd be a great anchor for the second unit.
I agree, and that's exactly what my thinking was going into this pick. I think he'd be great, to be the other guy, to Karl Anthony Towns, and give you that defensive part of the game. Again, one of the best shot blockers we've seen in a season in a long time.
And you can also pair him in a big lineup. You put Cat at the 4 and him at the 5.
Yeah, because Cat can stretch the floor. I like that. I hope Chris Finch is listening to us here, talking a little bit as he's getting ready for next year. Minnesota, though, one of the teams that may be just a few guys away of really making a run. Not sure if Walker Kessler will be that type of player, but at 19, I think he has some good stuff.
I don't think that they're that far away.
Yeah,
I think last season
a few more pieces.
Last season proved that they're far away. I think they need a little bit more outside shooting, and they need a true veteran presence in the locker room who can kind of.
Yeah.
When the young guys, when Russell and Cat.
And you would love to think Beverly would be that guy. But I think he's too emotional.
He's
to lose.
too far up the side.
Exactly.
You need somebody who's more even keeled. I'm gonna throw a name out there in free agency.
Oh, he's gonna be a Sixer. Don't say it already, because I think I know you're.
PJ Tucker.
He's gonna be a Sixer. See, I knew you were gonna say.
PJ Tucker, man.
But you're right. That's the exact player.
They need somebody like they need a player like PJ to go to.
And again, Kessler, you can see, can do it on the offensive end as well inside. But shot blocking is what you're going to think of when you hear Walker Kessler, and that's what you're going to draft him to do as rim protect and rebound for you. And I think he could do that for Minnesota. So we're going to wait and see there. But I think he's going to go 19 to the Timberwolves. If we go now to pick number 20, San Antonio, the second of 3 first-rounders. Again, rumors
That
they want
sounds
to move
weird.
It,
That
right?
San Antonio had 3 first-round picks.
Three
When have you ever
picks.
heard them having more than 1 first-round pick?
Ever.
Ever.
Some second-rounders, they bring some other guys in, but you're right.
Well, I mean,
I guess we must be, the DeRozan trade and everything as of lately, because the last couple of years, that's not been the San Antonio Spurs you used to
they
see.
haven't been, but at the same time, let's think about they were good for 25 years? Made the playoffs, 23 straight years?
Tim Duncan, David
Tim
Robinson.
Duncan, the David Robinson era, the Tim Duncan era, and on and on and on.
And then even Kawhi after
and
Duncan
Kawhi,
applied for that 1 year before he got hurt.
So, I mean, it's just weird for me as a basketball fan to see San Antonio in the draft in the first round more than once.
Yeah.
But
More than twice.
But with the 20th pick in the 2022 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame.
I agree with you 100%. I love that pick for them at 20. Some people not as high on Blake Wesley. Again, I've been watching the tape. The freshman, just 19 years old, and Coach Mike Bray talked about him at nauseum. He loved him as a player.
Yeah.
6'5", 185 pounds, has that 6'9" wingspan. But if you watch him on tape, it's hard to find somebody that plays the passing lanes better than Blake Wesley. He's a menace on defense. He has long arms. He can get hands on the ball. You'll see some of these plays here defensively, like that one where he's able to tip it away, come up with some big steals. 14.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Led Notre Dame in points and steals this season, second team All-ACC.
Yeah, I mean, he again, another guy that passes the eye test, and you can play him at probably 2 or 3 different positions.
Yeah.
So he's a rotation player on offense as far as multiple positions, but also when he brings his 6'9" wingspan, and he plays passing lanes, he averaged a little under 1.5 steals a game. So when you add somebody like that who can score and defend, and I think his scoring will only improve in the NBA because he'll have a more open offense, if you will. Notre Dame's offense isn't really known for being high scoring and potent, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a player with his skill set in the NBA, if he averaged 14 a game in college, he could easily average 18, 19 in the NBA.
Again, I like Blake Wesley. Some people don't even have him in their first round in some of the mock drafts we were looking today. Obviously, some do. We are one of them here at DETV. I like what I saw out of the freshmen for them. You talked about it. Can be a two-way wing there in the NBA. You can see it with the 15 points, but also the defense has been spectacular for Blake Wesley. Again, crowds the passing lanes. Again, you talk about active hands, Matisse Thybulle-esque in terms of his hands and stuff like that. So I like Wesley here, 20 to the Spurs. And if you're the Spurs here in this mock draft that we're doing here, Jason, they come out with Jalen Duren and Blake Wesley with their first 2 picks in the first round. You
can't go wrong with that. You pair them with a healthy roster there, the rest of the team. You could say that they're rebuilding, but they were in the hunt for the play-in 9-10 even late in the season. So you add a few more pieces.
Yeah, they were.
That they're probably a play-in team next season. So San Antonio's on their way back up. Maybe not championship San Antonio just yet, but playoffs again, I can see it in their immediate future.
Let's head to pick 21, and that's the Denver Nuggets. They've got 2 first-round picks, 21, and then to cap off things at 30. So with their first pick here at 21, I have them getting another point guard here, Jason, and it's the guy we both have talked about a few times already. If he falls to this point at 21, that's the point guard, the freshman from Kentucky, Ty Washington. I think if he somehow falls to Denver there at 21, Murray still hurt. Hopefully he's back next year. Again, there's a lot of question marks surrounding Jamal Murray. You drafted Bones Highland last year. He can play one or the 2.
Which is why I don't see Ty being drafted here, because Bones can play the 1 and the 2. I see Marjon Beauchamp going here at 21 to the Nuggets. I think with Denver, you need another scorer from the wing, and I think Beauchamp fits that mold for them. I think they need another scorer. I don't think they need any more like point guards. They need like small forwards because you saw in the playoffs, Aaron Gordon kind of disappear.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't find ways to score.
Couldn't find ways to
basketball,
score, and you need scoring. So I think Bochum and his energy, as you can see some of the highlights here, I think he's the guy that you pick.
Again, definitely could see him going there at 21-2. Then we go to 22. It's the Memphis Grizzlies. Another guy you like. I have them taking Dalen Terry here at 22.
I like it.
I mean, if he's there, Tyus Jones is going to be a free agent. Potentially, he may not be back next year. Dalen Terry could bring some backcourt depth there to Memphis. Again, 20 years old, just a sophomore, 6'7", as you talked about earlier.
And he brings size. So if he goes to Memphis, because you bring him off the bench, because Josh, 6'2", 6'3", and you bring all a 6'7" point guard off the bench, it makes teams game plan a little differently for the strategy. Then you put them in the backcourt together, that's also a nightmare. So.
And those Wildcats we saw for Arizona, so athletic this year with Mathurin.
Everybody the same
and
size.
Dalen Terry. Yeah, I mean, Dalen Terry can run the floor, get out in transition. You'll see him here. He can throw down some dunks. Number 4 in white. There he is catching the alley-oop. And again, at 6'7", he's got a 7-foot wingspan as well. He could be a problem.
Imagine him throwing lobs to Ja and vice versa. Can you picture that? That would be. And then you still have Desmond Bane and Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. You still have a bunch of pieces there. And Memphis is a Ja Morant injury away from beating Golden State. Yes, I said it. And they believe that too.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
So I think Dalen Terry, will be a great pick for Memphis, and they're snipping at people's heels in the Western Conference, and they're not that far away.
That takes us to 23, and your Philadelphia 76ers, and I say you, I mean yours, not yours.
We're here in Delaware, I understand.
So your Philadelphia 76ers.
Fans, you're Sixers.
Some different picks here, a lot of different people. E.J. Liddell has been a name mentioned from Ohio State, the big fella at 23. Another one, Wendell Moore Jr., the small forward from Duke, another name mentioned. I'm going a different direction. I'm going G League Ignite.
I see that.
And I'm going Jaden Hardy. I'm not sure if you guys at home maybe have had a chance to see Jaden Hardy. He's a scorer. He's an absolute scorer there. 6'4", 200 pounds, got that 6'9" wingspan, 17.7 points per game, just under 5 rebounds, 3 assists and a steal, can put it on the floor, can pass, but he is a guy that can create his own shot, and he's a bucket getter.
Well, do you need him when you already have
Yes.
Tyrese Maxey?
I think so. I mean, for me, he's 6'4". I think they need more scoring. We saw it in the playoffs. We saw it. I mean, Maxey's good. He can go cold for stretch, but they didn't have anybody you can even bring off the bench that could get you a bucket when you needed to. No Shake. He couldn't do it. Not a lot of other guys could do it. I think maybe he could. Again, Sixers are trying to trade out of this pick. That's been well known. But if they do stay here, I think Hardy could be the guy.
Okay. No, nothing against Hardy as a player at all. But I believe that even with the Sixers' current roster, I think they do have that secondary scorer from a guard standpoint, and I think that guy is Tyrese Maxey. Just personally to me, I think Maxey is that guy.
And he could be the second guy, but they need more scoring in its entirety. They need somebody else that can get them a bucket besides Maxey. Harden sometimes can, obviously Embiid, but I think he'd be good depth-wise.
Well, I think Harden actually slims down.
I agree.
I think Harden gets back to more of a early OKC playing weight.
That'd be nice.
And you see a different season from him. I still think he's lost a step. Let's be honest. But
Absolutely,
I think with the weight loss that he should do, you'll see a better Harden than what you saw this current season, which wasn't a bad Harden. It just wasn't MVP Harden. And that's what everybody expected him to be MVP Harden.
22-10-7 is still, 22-10-6, whatever you finish.
You have a lot of NBA players who have never averaged above 15 a game in their whole career, and he's averaged 22 last year, and that was him struggling to average 22.
Yeah, it was. That's for sure. So again, they could go a number of different ways here at 23. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do. We're going to go Jaden Hardy for the sake of argument, as we have Dennis giving us a look over there. Let's go to Milwaukee here at 24. So again, they want to win now. They're in that same spot. They want maybe some older players. So rival teams have indicated that they want to move up in the draft, Milwaukee. Potentially targeting some of the 7-footers, Walker Kessler and Mark Williams, or who they want.
Well, who are they giving up? Or who are they trading?
That's to be determined, but that's what some rival executives are saying for Milwaukee, so look out for that if they're trying to go get an anchor in the middle of the paint. But if they stay put at 24, I think you can't go wrong with E.J. Liddell here from Ohio State. I think he had a great career with the Buckeyes, 6'7", 240, got that 6'11" wingspan, 19.5 points and 8 rebounds for the big fella, 37.5% from three. He can stretch the floor, also block some shots, 2.5 blocks a game. He can do it offensively and defensively.
I agree with this pick because the Celtics expose that secondary length as a big man in their playoff matchup. They need somebody who's a big who can also stretch the floor, and I think E.J. Liddell would be a great pick for them because you saw it in that matchup where they didn't have that. Of course, they didn't have Middleton, so that other scorer, the other big guy, because Middleton's 6'6", so
he's still a big guard.
He's a big guard, so they need somebody in that type of mold who could, handle the block, shoot the three if need be, but. Again, his defense, Liddell's defense is what makes him stand out on top of the 19 points a game. So if you can score 20, but also stop the other person from scoring 20, you're a very good player. And I'm going to give you a comparison that you may not have heard in a long time. Liddell's a two-way player who can score. Think Ron Artest come out of St. John's. That's the skill set that he shows me.
Wow. Well, there you go. How about that comparison? Again, E.J. Liddell. Wouldn't shock me if the Sixers maybe took him at 23. A lot of talk with him in Philly also. Yeah. But I think he'd be a great fit at 24 for Milwaukee if he was able to find there. I think they would rush that card to the podium. Let's go to 25. San Antonio. Again, odds are they will not have this pick, Jason. We're going to say for the sake of argument they do stay again with their third first-round pick for Greg Popovich and the Spurs. It comes at 25. We know Nikola Jokic, but how about Nikola Jovic? Yeah, how about that? So let's talk a little bit about him. He's projected to go anywhere from 20 to 30 in tomorrow night's draft. Again, another foreign player here. He went from Mega Mozart here at age 19, 6'11", 222, a 7-foot wingspan, 12 points, 5.5 rebounds in 25 minutes a game. They call him the Serbian sensation. 56% from the floor, 38.5% from three, at 80% from the free throw line. Nikola Jovic here, what have you seen from this international player?
Serbian sensation. I like that name. I'm going to tell you, as far as him playing in Serbia and playing overseas like that, a lot of hype for a player years ago. Looking at his skill set right here, cool coach before he got to the Bulls. And he plays that he has a similar game, like step out, shoot the three, mid-range is awesome, can put the ball on the floor. So I see young Tony Kukoc when you look at Jovic, and this is such a San Antonio Spurs pick.
Right.
it's like he might sit on the shelf. He might play 2 more years overseas before coming to the NBA, but it's a classic San Antonio pick.
And again, he might not make it there. Maybe the Nuggets are feeling a little froggy where they're picking at 21. Maybe they like Jovic to pair with their other Serbian sensation, Nikola Jokic. So again, you got Nikola Jovic, Nikola Jokic from the same country. I mean, that's pretty crazy. We'll see what he does in the draft tomorrow night, but he's going to be a pick in the first round, and we've got him going 25 to San Antonio. Now to pick 26, the Rockets are back once again on the clock for their third pick of the first round. And here's a guy that you had going a little bit earlier. I have Marion Beauchamp here from the G League, Ignite, 21 years old, going here to the Rockets at 26. You talked about him, 6'6", 200 pounds, has that 7-foot wingspan, a 15-point scorer, a 7-rebound-a-game guy. If you don't see the Rockets going with Beauchamp here, maybe he's off the board. Is there a different direction you see Houston going in?
Yeah, I see them going for a pure point. The name rings a bell for me, Trevor Keels, Duke.
Trevor Keels. I have him in. If you look at, I have him 30 on the big boards. That's a first rounder, at least for being the big board. I like Trevor Keels, and you saw him at big moments when they needed him in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Trevor Keels, he definitely gave everyone fits in the tournament, and I think that will definitely translate over. I think he just has the moxie. He can just do what he needs to do in the court. He's a very solid scorer. I think he'll be an even better scorer in the NBA as well because he'll have more free reign, but he was a great decision maker for Duke. And they needed that, and it carried them all the way to the Final Four. So. And
again, you might not look at what he's saying. He's 6'4", 220. So he's 6'4", not too small of a guard. Obviously not a big one, but 6'4" is a good size.
Yeah, 6'4" is a great size, and you see he can shoot. Like they say, you can't always teach size, but you can't always see shooting if you can shoot from deep either. Like
And he's a big game
he's
shooter.
A big
we
game
saw him.
shooter. He's big game hunter. So
Yeah.
I like Keels, and he was a top recruit as well. Had a slow start, but kind of picked up a little as time
Again, coming
progressed.
off the bench for Duke,
Yeah.
right, I believe. So interesting.
Because he was
spot
hurt
for him.
early on, and he came
Yeah.
off the bench. But
But I like him.
I like him at 26 to the Rockets.
And now when we talked about our point guard rankings here, Jason, we already talked about two of the guys, Ty as well as Kennedy Chandler, as the two freshman point guards to come off early here. Do you maybe compare him along with these two guys in that respect?
Yes, I do.
And where would you order those three guys if you had to rank them?
I think Ty's one, and then I think who's the second one?
We have Kennedy Chandler.
Yeah. Ty's one, Kennedy Chandler
And then
two,
Keels
and then Keels three.
Okay, so yeah, I like that. And then also somebody we'll get to later, Andrew Nembhard, the point guard from Gonzaga. Some mystery surrounding him in the late first round as well. So let's move on now to 27, Miami Heat. Kyle Lowry's getting older, getting hurt, didn't look great in that playoff run. To me, they need a point guard, and I think they would get an absolute steal if this guy were to fall to them. That's the freshman point guard from Tennessee, who we talked about could maybe go a couple spots already in the first round. But that's Kennedy Chandler. If he somehow, and again, I don't think he will on the big board. You look at the big board, at least for me, I have him 19. I have him falling to 27 in this draft to Miami. And as a Sixers fan, I wouldn't like to see it. But I think if you're Miami, you would love to have him as a point guard on your roster.
You would love to have Kennedy Chandler, but I think this is where Nembhard actually goes. If Kennedy Chandler goes earlier. But
Yeah, I could see that too.
You can't go wrong either way with Kennedy Chandler or Nembhard with this pick. And you definitely need a playmaker because Jimmy Buckets ran out of gas. Simply put, ran out of gas. No Tyler Hero. Kyle Lowry was a fraction of himself in that series. So you definitely need somebody who can score as well as facilitate. So if Kennedy Chandler is the guy here, great. But also if Andrew Nembhard is a guy here, great as well. So you're getting in most other drafts, top 15 talent in the late rounds. And that's what I'd like to do. And you have no better front office, or one of the top front offices in the whole NBA in Miami. So they always hit on their picks.
And again, the interesting part with Kennedy Chandler, a lot of teams love him. And if he wasn't 6 foot, he would be a lottery pick. And that's what a lot of teams have said, a lot of scouts, is that he's just a little small. But again, sometimes you just got to bank on the fact that he can play as a 6 foot point guard, and that's what I'm banking on. I think he's going to be a great player, a pretty good player to great player. I think he's a great point guard. I think he could be. Does the 6 foot thing at all scare you a little bit?
No, because if you're a playmaker, you're a playmaker.
And I agree with that. So I'm in the same boat as Jason there. A lot of people have him maybe a little bit later due to the size, 6 foot point guard for the freshman from Tennessee. Again, might be a lottery pick if he's a few inches taller. Is Kennedy Chandler. Let's move now to 28 and the Golden State Warriors, the defending champions this year here in 2022.
The rich get richer.
They could, and they could go a number of different directions here, Jason. I mean, if you think about it, Nembhard and Keels, they could both be gone here. Not that they need a point guard, but I have them going with Jake LaRavia here from Wake Forest, the power forward, the junior, 6'8", 235. Again, I'm gonna have to watch a little bit more tape on him. But I liked what I saw. Could hit or miss. 14.6 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. So he can do all kinds of different things on the floor. But to me, it was kind of like the speedy. He's not the fastest or lateral quickness type player for me. A little bit slow. Played at Wake Forest though in the ACC. Have you had a chance to see LaRavia against your Tar Heels?
Yeah, he put out some decent numbers.
Yeah.
But I don't have him going here. I have LaRavia as a second round pick.
Okay, yeah.
I have Jalen Williams from Arkansas falling to the Warriors.
Jalen Williams.
Because you have to have him because you don't know what you're going to get from Wiseman still.
Question mark with the injuries.
And they need the center. Although they won championship this year, they're eventually going to need a solid center who can provide them some minutes and some scoring. Because Looney is decent, but he's not really a scorer. And you're going to need some scoring in the low post to take the pressure off the guards. So I think Jalen Williams, who had a great tournament for Arkansas, I think he's a guy at 28.
All right, so let's talk first here now about LaRavia here from Wake Forest. You're going to see his highlights on your screen from Wake. 6'8", 235. Can handle the ball a little bit, as we talked about, but did most of his damage down low on the box. They got him the ball down there. You're going to see some of these moves on your screen. Again, to me, I have him in my big board at around 29. So I had him as a late first-round pick. Again, if he's able to again, the speed a little bit maybe has me a little hesitant, but I like what I saw in his post work. But can he do that against NBA guys at 6'8"?
He can do it against the second unit. No, I mean, with his foot speed. With his foot speed, that's more of a second unit skill set. But he can do it against some players. But again, the NBA today, who really plays man-to-man defense anyway? So,
but the goal now is to switch everything.
Switch everything. So he gets that right mismatch. It's night-night for anyone who's guarding him. So, but I think he's going to be a solid player. Offensively, he's very decent.
When he does take the three, he can hit it.
But his free throw shooting, he's almost an 80% free throw shooter. So you need some guy who can come in and get you a couple buckets, but go to the foul line, get some extra points for you from the charity stripe. That's your guy.
And again, you see him running the floor, catching an alley-oop there. So again, we'll see where he goes. I have him going 28 to Golden State. And another guy you talked about was Jalen Williams. You'll see the highlights for the Arkansas center coming up here. Part of the big reason Arkansas made that giant jump in the NCAA tournament this year was phenomenal defensively. 6'10", 240, has that 7'1" wingspan. Also played over 30 minutes a game for the Razorbacks, so he can give you those minutes. 11 points, 10 rebounds, the double-double, plus 2.5 assists. He stretched out and he knocked down a few threes in the tournament. Obviously, he's not going to be your go-to shot. He's not going to choose to shoot a lot of threes, but can hit it, and you're going to see that improvement from him as well. I have him on the big board here a little bit lower.
In the second round.
In the second round, big board, 32 overall, but it wouldn't shock me there. Could be a good pick, and you're going to see some highlights.
I think he's very, very decent as a player, and I just feel like he can do so many different things. He can do so many different things on the court. And he's 6'10", 240. And I think he just brings a different level of tenacity. As you can see, he gets dirty. He doesn't mind doing dirty work. And
physical too.
He's very, 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 very physical. And to me, I think that's what Golden State would actually need.
And there you go at 28. And then with not Shabby, they could use him as well. You saw Kayvon Looney have some good success there in that spot, and Jalen Williams could come in and rebound as well and play some solid defense underneath. And then we go to 29 in Memphis with another first-round pick. We talked about what they might do earlier. Tyus Jones, a potential free agent, maybe some point guard help right behind Ja Morant. Well, the guys we have here could both be gone at this time, but I'm going to go with Andrew Nembhard or Trevor Keels, a point guard here from Memphis here at 29. Both those guys could be gone, but one of those could likely still be here at 29.
Yeah, I think if they're here, you go with either one. I think that for Memphis, you might go with Keels if they're both here at 29, just because of the. I think Keels has a higher upside when you compare Keels and Nembhard. I think Nembhard is a solid point guard.
I think Nembhard's more maybe of a true point guard.
He's a pure point guard, but I think Keels has the higher ceiling.
Especially, scoring-wise. Nembhard can hit the three, 38% three-point shooter. Obviously, he started his career at the University of Florida, ended up transferring to Gonzaga. You'll see some of the highlights here from Trevor Keels and Andrew Nembhard. Nembhard, though, a big point guard, 6'5", 195 pounds.
Well, he's still a little slight. Yeah, the 195
he's got some thinness to him,
it scare some people away because, I mean, I don't know what they're not feeding the kids at Gonzaga, are they? They're not feeding them. The meal plan at Gonzaga isn't working.
You got Chet, you got Nembhard, Drew Timme, a little small for his size.
A little light too.
He's working out in the combine workout, potential second-round pick.
You got to up that college meal plan at Gonzaga. Feed these guys some chicken or something. Some potatoes, a steak, something.
And you'll see Andrew Nembhard here, a true point guard. Also, you don't see a lot of these guys when you look up and down the first round. 6 assists a game for Andrew Nembhard. Obviously, in college, that's a pretty good number.
That's a high number for college.
Exactly right. Here in the first round, the highest you'll find in the potentially a first-round point guard is Andrew Nembhard. We talked about it. True point guard here, going coast to coast, can lay it in. Well, a good recruit when he went to the University of Florida, decided to transfer to Gonzaga out west and has been playing pretty well there as well. So, again, I have him going in the first round here, 29 to Memphis. But, again, he could fall into the second round. Could go maybe a pick or two earlier. One of those guys where we just don't know just yet. And that takes us to pick number 30. And Jason,
pick in the first round.
I went on a limb here for Denver at pick 30. Here they are yet again. I'm going with the former #1 overall high school recruit who decided to take his talents to Milwaukee as a freshman. Did not work out well. Let's just say that. He didn't have a great freshman year for being the #1 overall recruit, but he has the skill set. If he can refine that, he's going into the draft, obviously, here, and that's Patrick Baldwin Jr. from Milwaukee, just a freshman, 6'9", 220 with that 7'1" wingspan. But again, former #1 overall recruit. You see the tools here. He's a mystery of where he could go tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't see Denver.
To me, though, the comparison is MPJ.
And
injuries.
that's why they won't do it.
Really, that's why they won't.
That's why they won't do it. That's why they won't do it.
Well, I didn't say they had to sign to a massive 5-year contract.
No, but that's why they won't do it, because they're still dealing with MPJ's injuries right now.
And that's the comparison I have. He's able to stay healthy. He can be an MPJ.
And that's why they won't do it. I don't think you want to be snake bitten again. Although MPJ on the court is great, but you can't get drafting players you got to wait for, if you will. So I think at number 30, I think they go Christian Braun from Kansas.
I like that too, and that would be my second choice for you, sure. There, I like that. Christian Braun again. I can see him being a first-round pick, a wing. An athletic wing player in the NBA from Kansas.
I think Christian Braun goes in the last pick of the first round to Denver. He gives them everything they need. He gives them rebounding. He gives them some assists, but he gives them scoring, and he gives them an extra body.
6'6", 220 pounds. Average 14 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 3 assists to go with a steal. 38.5% three-point shooter, can knock it down from outside, 49% from the floor. And we got to see his athleticism on full display in the NCAA tournament. He can take off, and he's got some hops. He can throw down on you as well as hit the three ball. You'll see some of these highlights here from Christian Braun, again, in his NCAA tournament championship season along Ochai Agbaji. And you think about some other Kansas players, right, in this first round. You got Ochai Agbaji, and then obviously right here as well with Christian Braun. And maybe some of those other guys, I saw Jalen Wilson doing some workouts at the combine there, and maybe some other guys come in there, but they're national champs. And what do you think about Christian Braun at the next level?
He can play. I honestly think that he will do well at the next level. He probably won't be a starter, but he'll be a solid rotation player. He might start on some nights with mismatches or people resting in Denver, but they probably got to rest all their stars now because they seem to get hurt. But I definitely think that he's going to be a solid contributor to whatever team he goes to. And to get a guy like him at 30 is a solid pick. You're not spending too much money, not spending too much draft capital, but you're also getting a solid player who can plug and play from day one. So I think it would be a great pick at 30 if Christian Braun is still available from Kansas to go to Denver at number 30.
And man, that is going to wrap it up for the first 30 picks of our first round mock draft tomorrow night. Make sure you follow along. But before we close out here, Jason, let's talk about maybe a few potential guys that could fall into the second round or maybe creep up into the first round that could be some sleepers. I'll start here with some of mine. And for me, when you watch the NCAA tournament, or I don't think he may not even make it into the second round, but what about Wendell Moore Jr., the small forward? We didn't talk about him at all. He could go anywhere from 23 to the second round, 20 to the second round.
I can say 20 to the second round.
So, he could go, what do you think about him? 6'5", 213 pounds, got that 7-foot wingspan. He's going to be a nice wing potentially in the NBA. Can play both sides of the ball there. 13.5 points, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. You see the stats across the board. So he can do it there. What do you think about him?
He stuffed the stat sheet. And I honestly think he may go in the first round before one of the foreign players.
Yeah, I think he could too. 50% from the floor and another 41% three-point shooter.
Yeah, like I said, I think with him playing at Duke, people seeing him play a lot more than some of the other foreign players and G League Ignite players. And just then make it to the Final Four, I think, showcase a lot of his talent for scouts to see. And hopefully he's had some decent workouts. But that's one player. But another player that I will say that could also creep up in the first round will be Peyton Watson from
UCLA. And he's an interesting one, Jason, the guy we talked about. UCLA, again, for the second year, had that whole starting team back. He was kind of their guy that was going to come in as a freshman to give them a little bit of a boost. But that starting five for UCLA, the returning starting five, they gave him a majority of the minutes. You didn't see a lot of Peyton Watson here in the regular season, just 12.5 minutes per game. He's a 6'8", 200-pound freshman with a 7-foot wingspan, 32% from the floor, 22% from three. But again, that take that with a grain of salt. He didn't play much, but he's got the skill set again, and he's declaring for the draft here as a 19-year-old We'll see where he lands, but a lot of question marks about Peyton Watson. He could, find himself early second round, maybe creep himself into the late first.
But if he declared for the draft and he left his name in, that means his agents know something that we don't.
Exactly right. Yeah, so we'll say that's a good point.
He's getting drafted somewhere.
Exactly. You see the athleticism again. Mick Cronin would love to have him back at UCLA next year, but not going to be the case, as he's likely to get drafted late first and probably early second round for Peyton Watson from UCLA. Another guy that you got to see for me, Jason, in the NCAA tournament was David Roddy from Colorado State. And as soon as you watched that first round game with the Rams, you knew who he was. Definitely. He stood out, like a sore thumb there with his skill set. 6'5", 250 pounds, 6'11 and a half wingspan, 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3 assists along with a block and a steal. 31% from three, 42% from the floor, but he was another bucket getter for the Colorado State Rams this year.
Yes, he was. Roddy Piper out here on the basketball court, man. No, he had a great season with Colorado State.
Look at the size there,
because
too.
the size,
250.
When you think basketball in Colorado, you don't necessarily think Colorado State. You always think the Buffs, Colorado, the Buffaloes, but he's made Colorado State the upper echelon team in that state as far as basketball is concerned, and a lot predicated on the game that he brought to the table, which was excellent. I mean, he's been the junior, so he's a more seasoned college player. He had a natural progression. He's learned the game, and he bulked up, and he matured over the years. And look at his numbers now. I mean, 19 and 7, like you said, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. I mean, some players benefit from staying in the college system more than a couple seasons, and he's one of those players that his diligence and his dedication to his game and his craft will reward him either with a late first round or a second round pick, but he will be on somebody's roster beginning of the season. Yeah,
I'm with you. And again, the best part about all this is in a few weeks, we get to watch the Summer League, and all these guys that we had the chance to talk about, we'll get to see play some NBA action. I cannot wait. You got Vegas, Orlando, and Utah as your 3 summer leagues, so it's going to be very exciting in just a few weeks.
Question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the better summer league for you? I have my answer, but
out of those 3?
Out of those 3.
Historically, you could say the best was Vegas in terms of all the teams and all the tournaments. I kind of like Orlando. I like Orlando. It's at the practice facility. You got 4 or 6 teams. Historically, back in 2009 when they first started it, I actually was in Florida for it, so I had a chance to check it out back Gordon Hayward's rookie season that year, way back then. So Orlando is a special spot with me, but in terms of talent, teams, and entertainment, excitement, I'm going Vegas.
I would say for me, the best summer league destination is actually, I agree with, I say that it's Orlando.
Oh, wow,
I mean, Orlando over the years, I've seen some of the best talent. I've seen some people just go crazy in summer league in Orlando.
And it's the practice
gym, right? Facility, the gym, the Amway, whatever it's called now. They play there, whatever Magic Kingdom Arena they call it, Orlando. But it seems like the Orlando summer league, then you transfer that over to Vegas for the championship and things like that, and playoffs and stuff. But I think Orlando makes you work. Orlando Summer League makes you work, and then they translate that over to even Utah is pretty decent too.
Yeah, there's usually like 4 teams.
It's like 4 teams,
but small.
But I like Orlando makes you prove your worth, and then once you get to Vegas, people know who you are. You already made a name for yourself by the time you get to Vegas. So.
And the best part, Jason, about that this year is the #1 overall pick is going to be playing in that Orlando Summer League for the Orlando Magic. So there you have it. He making Orlando even a little bit better
standing
now.
Room only.
It is standing room
early.
So that's going to be a phenomenal advantage there for the Orlando Summer League as well. Jabari Smith projected to go #1. Might have a chance to see the #1 overall pick a few times, not only in Vegas, but also hopefully in Orlando. So before we wrap up, Jason, 2022 NBA Draft tomorrow night on ESPN and ABC. Who becomes 5 years down the road? Who's the best player in this draft class?
Best player in this draft class 5 years from now? That's saying a lot.
It's a tough spot, right? This is
the
golden question.
No, I can answer the question.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying this is a hard question.
I think 5 years from now, we're probably talking about Paolo Banchero.
I agree with you. But I think it's so close with these top 4. I even throw an Ivy in there with the top 3. I think those 4.
Even Sharp. I can even see Sharp as the best player in 5 years.
And again, you go out on a limb to say something like that. I love what I see from him as well. And then maybe in a couple years you look back and you're thinking, wow, I thought Shaden Sharp was going to be special. And we both think that, but again, you never know with the NBA draft, especially now, nowadays and everything that's going on. But Jason, there you have it, 2022 NBA draft. Both of us are going with Banchero as our number one on our big boards. We have Jabari Smith going number one in our mock draft. Yeah. And then we have Banchero as the best player 5 years down the road. So that's the first time we agreed on everything like that, right? Yeah. So that worked out nicely. And before we close out, Jason, I know another sad day in terms of some more unfortunate news, especially in the NFL.
Yeah, so today, it's been a sad day if you're a Ravens fan. Lost 2 players today. One current player in Jalen Ferguson, 26 years old, third-round draft pick back in 2019 for the Ravens. Nicknamed him Sack Daddy for his sacks when he was at Louisiana Tech. He's their all-time leading sack leader there, 45 sacks for his college career. Solid rotational player for the Ravens. Just a young man gone too soon. But we also lost the Goose, Tony Saragusa, one of the most memorable personalities of all time in NFL. Started off his career with the Colts and then came to Baltimore and was an anchor on that 2000 Ravens defense that won the championship in Super Bowl 35. In later years, he worked as a color analyst and sideline reporter for Fox News, Fox NFL. So today, very sad day in Baltimore. So Ravens flock, as a supporter myself, I stand with you. Keep your head up, and we will get through this.
Yeah, again, another tough day in terms of sports when dealing with things like that. Again, I repeat, all the families and everyone involved there. And again, sad news, and hopefully things get a little bit better as we go forward. But again, your NBA draft is tomorrow night, 2022. Jason, we did the whole March Madness, the whole tournament together. Now here we are. We talked about it a few months later. So it's all coming to fruition for these young men and these college athletes who are going to be turning pro. And then we're going to see how Jason and I do maybe a couple years down the road when we look back at our mock draft.
Listen, we're going to have to watch the recording for years from now and look at it and see what happens.
It's going to be an exciting draft tomorrow night. Again, it all should get started around pick number 4. But before we end out, again, Vegas moving Banchero's odds from plus 1,600 last week to plus 175 today to go number 1 overall. So things are heating up. Again, Jabari Smith for us right now, but some things are heating up by tomorrow night, so we're going to have to wait and find out.
Let me go to the sports books.
Yeah. So we will see you next time. For Jason McCall, Nick Alessandrini, make sure you check out the draft tomorrow night on ESPN and ABC. It should be a good one. Thanks for tuning in to DETV.